With 4 million sounds, what will you create? Take the free trial today.
Hey everybody, welcome to another video from our Superbooth Home Edition series. I hope you're enjoying them so far. We're having a lot of fun doing them, although we're doing them before the event, so you're watching it virtually. I guess you know that. Anyway, I'm here. We're coming live and direct from Finland, where we're talking to the chaps from Supercritical Synthesizers. That's Timo and Heikki. How are you doing, guys?
Hello, we're good.
We're good, thanks.
Excellent. So I'm not doing too bad, actually. Thank you very much for asking. Anyway, we should probably crack on because there's a lot to get through. So you guys are Supercritical Synthesizers. You've got a series of modules, right, which I think we're looking at here. You're just going to give us a kind of rundown of what you've got, right?
Yeah. Go on.
Okay, so basically our first product released last year is the Demon Core Oscillator, which is a 16-voice DCO, so an analog waveform generation, but digitally controlled. And the expander module for that, which allows you to control the 16 voices via MIDI polyphonically with 4 CV inputs. There's a gate out and some envelopes and stuff to make it more usable. So very quickly, if we just... the sound you're hearing, the oscillator here is the Demon Core, and as you can hear, it's polyphonic.
And it's playable via keyboard. That's something new to modular world. Or it was new since last year.
All right, so and that's available now, presumably, and shipping, how much is that?
Was it $890 for the both of them?
No, I think $770.
$770, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So $455 euros for the oscillator. Sorry, we buy these so rarely ourselves that you tend to forget.
Yeah.
And the expander is, what does that, $285?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, all right. And so what else are we looking at? Because you've got some other new stuff as well, right?
Yeah, we made a thing. So basically, we're continuing the saga of the Demon Core Oscillator with this new filter. It's called the Neutron Flux Filter, and this is the first working prototype of it. So basically, it's a toolbox of a filter. So it's analog and it's stereo. So stereo in, stereo out, and then you can not model but have the character of various classic filters.
Okay.
So it's basically both of the halves are 4-pole. Also, we have a mode where you can connect them in series, so you get a mono 8-pole filter also, if that's what you prefer.
Wow,
So
I've never heard of an 8-pole. What does an 8-pole do? Does that give you a very steep cutoff and a high resonance peak, I suppose?
It can do that, or it can do several, up to 4 different resonance peaks, so you can get pretty deep into 4-man territory and stuff. Or it can basically just do a lot more features in the same response, and of course, there's a lot more flexibility for the curve when you have 8 poles. It can be steeper. That's one of the classic stuff that it does, but you can also use the poles for other things.
And then there's another thing. This is our there's just one more thing. So in the vein of like classic guitar amps, 2-channel amps, we put an overdrive channel, and we're not talking about it can go to like pleasant saturation, but it can go to hard distortion.
Okay,
also.
so I'm curious of the 4 resonant peaks. Do you have control over those separately? Because sometimes with filters, you can create extra polyphony, can't you? When you've got 2 peaks and you tune them separately, are they individually tunable? The peaks on the 8-pole?
We don't quite have enough front panel controls to do all of them simultaneously, but as you might have gathered by now, the filter core is analog, but it's digitally controlled. So basically, it's up to what kind of characters do we want to build in there. So we can make something that, for an example, where 2 of the peaks move with one of the controls, and the other control, for an example, moves the spacing of the pairs themselves, or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
And we take advantage of it by adding like a stereo control. It's not that defined yet because this is the first working prototype, but we do this trick that we have a mono input here, and then we spread it to different channel, both left and right channels, so it gives like huge sweep in the stereo spectrum.
Nice.
And we're working on some more modes, perhaps, to that control. So it's not like a dual VCF per se, but it's more of a stereo thing that, like, you can easily dial up and
right.
Really wide stereo spectrum.
So does that mean the firmware of the digital control is something that is updatable as you go on, or is it you fixing it at the time of release?
Yeah, it's updatable. Like the DCO, it has a audio input thing that you can use the new firmware on, but we're aiming so that you could live update some characters here, because like the green bank here is aimed to be like the factory bank for the like classic characters, and like the yellow and red banks, like 10 or characters, updatable characters, you can upload them.
And other characters, are you adding? I mean, obviously some of the characters will be what people know and love, and others will be more experimental and your own thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and the colors, Heikki were mentioning, those are the colors of the LEDs here. I think we don't have anything but green in the firmware yet, but those can be also yellow or red, and that tells you which bank you're in. So
yeah.
Okay. Have you got more sonic demonstration lined up that we can hear a bit more?
Yeah. So this was the first demonstration was from the the SEM-like mode here with the notch and high pass thing on. But let's do something with the distortion. We'll use the DCO for sound generation here, and then this is the kind of a corgi thing here. It doesn't do much yet, but then when you drive it hard.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh. That's quite a unique sort of drive. I've not heard one of the bit. I mean, it's hard to tell over this. Obviously, I'll hear the full quality audio in a bit, but that's quite an unusual sonic character.
Yeah, it should be, because I think the distortion thing is kind of you can use the thing really differently, like the whole concept of distortion, and now we're doing it so that we're hitting the front end of the filter, first stage, really hard.
So basically it's the filter core itself where all the feedback signals are distorted and so on, so it's quite different from having a clipping or saturating stage first and then driving it into a filter, or having it after the filter.
I was going to ask, so it's inside
the
filter, right? Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the models, I'm curious. So it's an analog filter with digital control. So what are you changing when you're changing the characters? Are you changing the internal routing, or what? How's that working?
So basically, I don't know how technical I should go here, but those of you who know what it means, that you have a transfer function. So we're basically changing the transfer function to match what we want to. We don't want to call it modeling, because the transfer function is just one part of the sound, but that's kind of the most immediately obvious part. So so basically it means that if you were just to draw it in a plug-in, the standard curve, the wiggly line we changed. The non-linearities in the filter, those are fixed to, it's an analog filter, it does what it does, but the transfer function is what we're changing, and we're quite fortunate now that we've been working with the prototype. It really seems that the type of non-linearity this filter has is seems to lend itself well to sounding like a lot of other filters, as long as the transfer function is correct. So it seems
that's interesting. I have a question. Okay, I've got a quick question. So if you're not the filter naked without any character? Does it have a different? Is it a unique sound there? Is there a way to hear the filter? I mean, have you got it so that it doesn't have a character, or does it not lend itself so well to uncharactered?
So basically, a character just means. I mean, we have to choose some
starting point.
Yeah, some transfer. Okay. There has to be some transfer function. So there is no like zero point or something where there wouldn't be a character. It's not something we add on top. It's something that you have to control anyway. You anyway have to choose the response transfer function. When you do like a Moog ladder, the structure of the filter dictates a single response that you can have, single transfer function. If you're doing a standard SVF, that's one transfer function, and so resonance is the only thing that changes it.
What are we hearing at the moment? I can hear something in the background there.
Try the guess.
Sort of sounds like a transistor ladder filter.
Might be. Or a diode.
Diode, that's what I meant. You're making me look stupid now. Not hard, I realise.
Sorry.
It's hard to do the acid thing. The decay is really...
So I presume you've got envelope controls and you've got CV. So what are the CV controls?
So basically the CV controls differ a bit because we have controls for the character. You can blend between them.
Yeah, so the characters are not like fixed. Maybe you can see the LED here. That it's actually you can morph between the various
it's a morphing
characters.
Filter. Okay. Yeah. So that's controllable,
and then,
right?
You have the CV for the queue and also the mode, which in some characters it might not be a mode. It could be like a just entirely different thing because for the kind of liquid thing we're doing
it's low pass to band pass to high pass right now,
and
the liquid setting.
With the crisp thing we do the notch thing in between,
right?
And then the stereo has a CV, but these ones are digital because there's some digital control, but we made sure that the FM people would like these are all analog, this FM thing and 1 volt per octave,
right? Okay.
So you can do as a normal analog filter would behave really fast. FM.
Interesting. And I mean, obviously, it self-oscillates presumably, so you can play it. How's the tracking when you're working with stereo? Are you doing anything clever to keep them absolutely in line, or do you let them wander?
So that's a good question, because to be honest, we have a trim circuit in that, but in this prototype we haven't had time to test how well it trims. I just tried it yesterday, that it's kind of playable but not quite in tune without any trimming. But no, to be honest, we'll know it once we get to there and see how well we can trim it.
Okay. I got you. So this is a prototype. What's the production timeline looking like?
So this time of the world, let's say under normal circumstances, assuming no surprise technical difficulties with scaling the prototype to something we can easily test and produce, I would say late summer. But I was just talking to some of the people who do our circuit board assembly and stuff. So right now, anything we order, it could be the usual time, it could be twice that or so. Yeah. So
yeah, I understand. Well, totally, it's hard time. Yeah. And what about cost? Have you got a sort of final price point ish in mind? You know what you're aiming for?
Well, we have a ballpark, and it would be 500-ish, something like that. And it's still to be determined, like all the production stuff and so on. But that's what we're aiming for.
And one other question, as it's stereo, is it possible to have two independent filter paths, so effectively to treat it like two filters?
So the cutoff controls are shared between the two sections, so it's not completely independent. And also basically all the front panel controls, actually, except for obviously the stereo, which affects them differently. Okay. So it's really a stereo filter, not a dual in that sense. You don't have two different cutoffs.
Okay, that's worth knowing. Great, guys. Thank you very much. It sounds like you've got another example lined up, so I guess I should let you play it.
Yeah, live patching. This has some liquid character here. Let's tune it down a bit.
Remember to also use the mode control.
That's kind of interesting. It's got quite a unique resonance.
Yeah. In this specific character, there's kind of a double peak resonance, so the resonant peaks are somewhat separated, and that's what gives it kind of a bit like extra liquid type of thing.
And then when you overdrive it. So it could be something that behaves really well in your system and something really... We're aiming for it to do something like really obnoxious.
As well,
Also.
okay. I think it's always good to
Yes.
have a little bit of that. Guys, thank you very much. Is there anything more you need to show, or are we there?
I think this is the current point of the development here, like the maximum that today this little machine could do.
Yeah, we could go through a bunch of modes, but since we are on limited time, we understand, and that's, you've heard that it can do various stuff. So.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much, guys, and I really look forward to seeing you in person. Maybe at Berlin next year or the next available show. And stay safe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that too.